Hello again, everyone. Today we're going to be installing what I'm most excited for. Probably the coolest add-on I've been wanting to install for a while now is the Fruto Technology 28 segment bar graph. I know when we all got the Hasbro one, we were all a little disappointed about the bar graph only having 5 LEDs underneath. I mean, it's understandable they had to cut costs somewhere, but I'm sure one day we were all hoping to finally see a proper bar graph like the one in the movie, and now finally it's here. So let's get right into the install. Okay, so there's going to be two methods you can choose from, but before we get into that, let's open up this wand. A quick recap: you're going to have to screw into 4 plugs in here and rip those out, and then unscrew 4 screws underneath here. Then here you got another 4 screws, one here, one here, one here, and one here. And next you're gonna take off the wave trigger. You can probably push it aside, but it would be easier to work with if you just unplugged it completely. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Remember which side is the positive for the speaker. So I have marked it. So you see the blue tape, that is my positive wire. And when you're looking down the wave trigger, once again, the terminal that's pointing towards you is the positive end. So actually you do have to unplug these speaker wires anyways, because we're gonna need to take the speaker out because it's in the way. So technically you don't have to unplug a lot of these wires if you don't want to, but it would make your job a lot easier if you did. So I'm gonna unplug some of these just to make my job a lot easier. Okay, honestly, I think that's enough for now. So the first thing we need to disconnect is the existing stock bar graph, and that is this 6 wire ribbon cable right here. So there's gonna be 6 wires from blue to brown that you'll need to disconnect. And then next, you're gonna need to disconnect these 4 wires, the 2 orange ones, and then the red and black one right next to it. The orange one connects to a rumble motor that's in the back here, and the black and red wires connect to the slow-mo light that's right here. So we just want to disconnect them to make sure they don't get in the way, and we don't want to accidentally damage those connections. Okay, now that we have prepped the wand, we can go into the 2 methods. Method 1 is completely non-destructive. It does take some finessing to get the bar graph in and some of the existing parts out, but if you don't want to damage anything more in the wand, this is the method for you. However, the clear plastic cover must remain on, so it will give you a diffused look. So if you don't mind that, or you like the look, this is the method for you. For the second method, it would require some destruction. You see this black plastic piece here? This plastic piece is actually quite important to us because it keeps the wires down and away from the barrel. So when this barrel retracts back and forth, it won't get caught on it. However, the only way to remove the bar graph cover easily is to break this plastic off. So what you can do is break that off, take off the cover, install the bar graph, and then if you're a DIY guy, you could probably figure a way to glue this back on, maybe put some extra pieces in between to bridge the two. Or you can get these 3D printed covers that we sell, and these will screw right in and replace the previous black piece that we cut out. So for the first method, the first thing we need to do is remove this black cover here. There are 2 screws, one here and one right in there. Now this one is tricky to get to. You have to come at it in an angle. And another thing to note is that you see this black plastic, you can bend this quite a bit without breaking it. It's actually quite sturdy. So I find that coming from this side, it's a little easier. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but it is unscrewing. There you go. And then this one will be easy. And then we need to remove this piece right here. So we're gonna unscrew this one first. Lift up the spring. and then remove the screw underneath. Okay, next, to remove this piece, it would be easier to turn around this way. You're gonna have to finesse this out with 2 fingers here. And like I mentioned about this bar, this thing bends a lot. Do not be afraid to bend it as much as you need to. I mean, eventually it will snap, so you know, don't go too crazy. So knowing that, you're gonna have to use 2 fingers. I poked it up from the bottom, and then I'm gonna bend the bar a little bit until this wiggles out. There we go. Easy peasy, right? And it looks like my Bargraph already came loose, but this one comes off very easily. There, that's how it looks. And now we have, now you can see it's just the clear plastic. So installing the Bargraph, it would help if you snip off these 2 little solder joint pins sticking out here. See that right there? Yeah, it does help to snip those off to give yourself a little bit more room. And then you're gonna want to take this piece that you purchased from Fruta Technology, and you're gonna see 2 little notches on the side there. And that is where the pins that you cut off, that spot here, that's where it's gonna go. So this will fit in like this. Okay, so you're gonna see at the front here, this little corner here, there's a little removed section in this corner here. It's a little thinner. So this is how you want to orientate it. So actually, it's probably better to remove the cables out this way. Give yourself a little bit more space. Installing the Bargraph, I'm going to demonstrate it with another piece here that I broke off my other wand. So the clear plastic in there, it actually looks like this. Of course, less damaged. And what we want to do is we're going to slide this up. And it'll be like stuck in there like this. And we're going to push up until this drops in, and you push down, and it should sit right there behind those 2 little pegs at the bottom. So let's go ahead and try that. So I got it lined up. See how it looks so far. Okay, it's a little off center, it's not too bad. We got it partly in there. Again, remember, this thing can take it, so you can bend it a little bit. So I'm gonna bend that a little bit while pushing up. So far, I've got it lined up. Bend this piece if you need to. Stick in 2 fingers, move it around as best as you can. Okay, and now I'm just gonna have to push it down. So I'm bending this piece, and that's allowing a lot of space for it to slide down. And let's see. Yeah, so there you go. I got it completely seated down there properly. Okay, and before we plug in the board, you're going to want to plug everything back together here. Make sure to feed these wires back underneath and under the bar. To plug in the Bargraph, I'm going to take a second here to show you, since that one's inside. So this one is seated in there like this. So when you look closely, the top one here is upside down, but that says SCLSDA. And then the bottom one is a positive and minus. So let's connect the bottom one first. So take your cable, and we're going to want to go underneath the black plastic. And this one, there's several routes. I'm gonna go through this way, through this side, and that will connect right there, where it says 5V out between the 2 terminal blocks. And then you take the other end, and this connects to the bottom connector. If it's hard to get into, you can use some tweezers. All right, so double check that. Make sure that the 5V out is connected to the bottom connector while the Bargraph is facing this way. Next, take the other one. Do the same thing. And this one connects right here, next to the blue and yellow cable. SCL SDA. And that will connect to the top connector. Okay, and then at this point, before you reconnect, the barrel LEDs and your wave trigger, it's a good time to test it out just to make sure it works. This is kind of all we need to make sure everything's up and running. So let's go test it out on the pack. Okay, so I got the wand here next to my pack. It's not fully closed up or anything yet, but everything's still connected. So we're gonna go ahead and plug that in. Give it a second, light it up. There you go, it works. I'm gonna do a close up. So as you can see with this method, it looks pretty good. Let me turn that down. If you don't like the black lines here, the fake Bargraph lines, you can just get some rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip and just rub those off. I see the Bargraph does sit further back in this method and the light is diffused because of the clear lens. But that looks pretty good, man. So if you like this method, this is it. You're done. Just need to close everything back up. If not, let's move on to method number 2. And in this second method, it's going to require total and absolute destruction of your wand. No, I'm just playing. It's actually not that bad compared to the first one. The first one, it was non-destructive, but it was kind of hard to get the Bargraph in. This one is a lot easier to install. So first, if you're coming from method 1, let's undo everything that you did. So we're going to remove these connectors that come from the Bargraph. And likewise, we're going to need to remove these 4 wires here just because they're in the way. And we're going to need to remove this cover here for the gun box. And just like we did opening up the wand, we're going to need to remove these 2 pegs and then unscrew the screws underneath. So unfortunately for my version, these were glued down very, very well. So I'm pretty much going to have to just destroy them. So as you can see, this one, I basically just destroyed it and ripped it all apart. I hope you guys have better luck than I did. So now that we're in, do be careful with this slow blow light. The LEDs connected are delicate. And so from here, we're gonna start doing some cutting. So I'm gonna cut along here, here, and then here. So it depends on your snippers. It does help to twist a bit. All right, I'm gonna break out some heavy duty ones. Oh, dang, these are a lot easier. I just got these. Okay, so let's remove the Bargraph. If you're coming from method 1, put that aside. So this PCB board here, this is the LED that's on top of the gun. So let's take that off first. And then inside, you can see 2 screws here, one there, one there. Similar to method 1, we're gonna have to unscrew this at an angle. You should make a note that the 2 screws that are in there are shorter than the rest. Oh, and then sorry, there's one more back here. Okay, and then remove this screw here. And then be gentle around this area because of those LED wires. You're gonna take out this here. This is the retraction barrel switch. I think I made a mistake earlier saying that this is the vibration switch. Yeah, I was completely wrong. It's not. And then I believe there's one more back here. Okay, so I think that is it. So now take some pliers and very gently just kind of see if you can lift it up. Yeah, so get that off. Oh, my LED came off. That's okay. If your LED pops off, just put it aside as well. Okay, so take some force. All I did was bend this forward, and you hear like a little bit of snap, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. And then it just kind of finesses out. And there you go. You got it all off in one clean piece. Okay, so now that we got this removed, we're gonna have to take off this part here while we're retaining this section up here. Stop right there. If you're watching this, do not proceed any further. This is future Jono warning you of the impending doom that you will face if you move forward with the instructions of past Jono. He made a grave error in cutting where he's about to cut. As you can see, it has left a piece scarred and damaged here. So do not follow those steps. You're gonna need this pole here for installing the bar graph. So what we need to do is cut along here instead. And while you're at it, you can cut these pegs off. You basically want to just cut off as much as this side as possible. We don't need any of that. Before installing the bar graph, we're just gonna have to put these places back in. So let's just start with this one here. This will drop right back in here like, whoops, this. And then this one drops back in here like this. Make sure on the other side, you push the LED all the way back out. Okay, and then with the bar graph and this piece, if you purchase this from Fruto Technology, this will drop in like that. So let's go ahead and put this one in first. So how you want to install this is, you see there's this little tab here that's, let me see if I can focus. You see this little tab on the right side. You're going to go into the groove in there and then place it back in. So look closely, you're gonna see there's a little groove right here. So you want to go in with that end first and then place this down, and this should go over, and the other side should go over top of this pole here, like that. So you flip over, take a look, and see how that sits. Okay, that looks not bad. You can take your bar graph and we're going to drop it in this way with the connectors facing towards you. And finally, you're going to take this piece and that will go onto the piece that past John broke on his. So mine's a little angled, I think. That's because I broke it and I don't think I had it perfectly lined back up when I reattached it. But it'll look something like that. And that will hold the bar graph down. So now we just need to screw these two in. So you can just take the two screws that were used for this cover. And that's it, it's installed. Take a look at it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so if you haven't already tested it out, go ahead. We already did that in method 1, so we know it works. So let's go ahead and reattach some of these things. So starting with the top gun box light, that will drop back. The LED here drops back right in there. And your slow blow LED, carefully place that back on. So go ahead and go up and under the wand cage and you can reattach those. And then last, the barrel retraction switch. This one drops in a little groove between the slow blow and the clear plastic like this. And up and over. And then the barrel LED can go back in as well. And then lastly, of course, the cables for the bar graph. So we're gonna start with the bottom one first. That's the power. And the power goes right there, 5-volt out. And then the data connection. And that goes right next to the blue and yellow wires here. So right there. Okay, so now we have everything plugged back in except for the wave trigger. And we'll get back to that later on, but first we're gonna have to install the cover that we cut off. You cut off these two pieces here. If you're a DIY guy and creative enough, I'm sure you can maybe glue it back. You can find some suitable replacement, maybe, I don't know, cardboard. As long as there's a platform here that keeps the wires from popping up and getting in the way of the barrel connector. So if you have a homebrew solution, go for it. If not, then you can go with one of our 3D printed parts. These files are on our GitHub, so you can download them if you have a 3D printer. And you can just purchase it from our shop if not. So to install this, you really only need one screw. So I'm gonna take one of the short ones from the vent. And deep inside the body, you see there's a screw hole there. And there's one there. We're gonna use those and just install one of them. So I'm just gonna place the screw in it first. You only need one. And you're gonna make sure that all these wires, except for the barrel LED 3 wire here, you make sure that they're all in between the two posts and just seat them in to the existing screw holes and secure it. There, it's that easy. Now you have a nice clean piece here that keeps the wires away, and in the future, if you ever need to get in there again to do some other modifications, you can just easily remove this and place it back on. Okay, so now all you need to do is just close this thing back up, and you already know how to do it, so I'm not going to show you again. Screw it, let's just do it real quick. So run your speakers back under and over, reseat the speaker heatsink, and reconnect the speaker wires to the wave trigger. So find your positive wire, marked by the blue tape on mine, and into this terminal closest to you, or if I flip it over, it's facing away from you. Plug it back in. Take one of the Kung Lao looking hat screws, and that goes into the clear screw hole right here. And I almost forgot this thing. Another Kung Lao hat. Reattach the spring. And then secure it. Okay, that's it. Just double check all the wires, make sure they're tucked in and out of the way. Test out the barrel, make sure it clears. And if everything's good, we can go ahead and close it up, starting with the gun box. And then the body. Check to make sure all the lines are flush. Make sure nothing's pinching. And go ahead and screw in the rest. Forget that the one that goes at the front here is an extra long one. And lastly, the gun track. And that's it. So let's plug this one in. And no vent. That looks way better without the vent cover. So method 1 or method 2, it's up to you. Whichever way, I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching, take care.